by Seb Bosher-Williams. Seb, welcome along. What can we say about this iconic circuit? And I could be a bit more. It presents a very different challenge to what we had last week at Mosport, where it was all about the slipstream. It was a pure drag fest, especially down the back straight and into the S's. But today, a bit more technical, a bit more tighter, a lot more turns, definitely.
Certainly, yeah. Good evening, Tim, and welcome along to everybody watching at home. Yeah, this track is such the contrast to last week's Mosport. It's twisty. You've got obviously the corkscrew, a really technical, tricky section where you drop so far down with this intricate chicane. It's such a interesting track. For a little bit of an experiment, actually, while I was practicing, I did a few laps around the circuit. I stuck on a low downforce setup, which is not the optimal way to run here, and I was going about 2 seconds a lap slower on the low downforce setup, which just goes to show how much downforce is needed around here. So you'll be seeing drivers run as much downforce as possible, and that means that the slipstream is going to be even more important down the long back straight. So I think turn 1, we're going to see a lot of action tonight.
We are indeed qualifying well underway. Of course, it's an open qualifying session as always. We're about 3/4 of that completed, and look who's at the top once more. It's Sam Hermer once again, leading the way with a 1:14.1. Gavin Petty, he's going to be alongside him as it stands at the moment. And as always, as we've just come to, it's just standard in this league, isn't it, Seb? Incredibly close times. A second is all that separates Hermer on pole from being Larson in 13th place. That's a big jump in places for such a small amount of time. I mean, if you look even between Petty and Hermer, under a tenth is all that separates them.
It's crazy. Just as you say that, Sam Hermer goes 2/10 quicker than Gavin Petty there. So he's found a little bit more pace out on the track. But yeah, you're right. We always expect to see it in the F3s. I'm actually really surprised to see it at Laguna Seca because it's such a technical track and it's such a driver's track. And if you're more comfortable in the car, if you're more comfortable with the setup, you can extract maybe a little bit more pace than you would be able to at a track like Mosport. So it's just a testament of how good these drivers are and how good the whole field is as a whole, because they are so close together. Just noted that Rosenkrantz has gone up there into second place, so a lot better qualifying performance than last time. Of course, last time at Mosport he had that penalty after the incident with Sam Hermer in Barcelona turn 1. So Rosenkrantz bouncing back really strong at the moment, but let's hope that if they stay in those positions, hope that Rosenkrantz and Hermer will not make contact into turn 1 tonight.
And I think for me, one of the most interesting parts is that Jarvis got to run about 2, maybe 3 laps of qualifying left to see Aluedo there heading down through the notorious corkscrew. Is that once they can cost you so dearly? I mean, we've seen the 3D Rap Squad Quarter team dominate the first half of the championship, and here we are in America. Roberto Fai and Patricolo have got 6th and 7th place between them respectively. Right on the order from where we've normally seen them, and well, even between those two, 500ths of a second is all that separates them. As there is Roberto Fai off the track and definitely struggling.
Certainly is. That's a very interesting place to see somebody off the track, but you're right. The 3D Rap Squadra Corsa drivers are really struggling at the moment. They've had a run of a few bad races. Even Barcelona weren't necessarily on pace, but they got very lucky with that first corner collision, as I alluded to earlier. So they managed to get the 1-2 there as well. So I think that you're seeing a bit of I think what's happening is that the drivers who were maybe struggling a little bit before have put in a little bit more practice, and I think they're finally getting accustomed to the car and they're really pushing through, because I don't believe that the 3D Rap guys could have lost pace. I think everybody around them is just starting to push so much more. It's really good to see, and it'll be interesting to see how 3D Rap managed to come back from this, and can they become as dominant as they once were a few races ago.
I just see Rosenkrantz there. He's heading down into the final corner. The driver's struggling to improve. Lee Aberdeen currently down in 11th place. Just as we see Larson needs, if you see red the numbers on the timing tower on the left-hand side, flash red. That means the drivers had an off track, so that means their current lap time, whatever it may be, if it's an improvement or even if it's going less, it will be deleted. Larson being one of them, as Patrick Colo just heads up into 4th place there. Just getting onto the 2nd row of the grid at the moment. We've got 1 minute 23 left in qualifying. And just looking at where some of the drivers are, they've got a chance to get another lap in potentially. It's going to be interesting to see if this one is still up for grabs potentially, but the track's definitely getting a little bit slower for some of the drivers, and actually where they're pushing harder, struggling to find that extra lap time. Just to bring up to date, it's currently local time here in Laguna Seca, just coming up to 5 to 6 p.m. right now. Ambient temperature 19 degrees, track temperature 22, so not overly hot, but still on the slight degree of a warmer side, really, for the drivers. In terms of wind, 13 kilometers an hour westerly wind, so that's not going to affect the drivers too much overall. But I think, as you said, Seb, it's all going to be who gets the best start, and it's going to be all about that run down to turn 1. As we see Patrick Colo closing up his lap, and I doubt that's going to be very much any improvement for him whatsoever. No, goes half a second slower than his previous best, and keeping one eye on the timing sheets for now. It doesn't look like anyone too much is on an improving one. Bergerson, sorry, he managed to get himself up into 18th with a slightly improved time there. However, it's starting to slow up. We've got Alex Rogan back. He's on a bit of an improved one, going faster in sectors 1 and 2. Cochran, that was, just misses out on beating his fastest time by 200ths of a second. Just showing these slim margins as...
That's not right.
Well, that's a bit of a unique way to come across the finish line. We've seen lots of firsts in this championship, and that is definitely one of them. As we see Josh Wilson there, Roberto Fay, fastest of everyone in Sector 1, a personal best in Sector 2, no improvement in Sector 3. There's 5 sectors here at Laguna Seca. What can the Italian do? Currently in 7th position. That's good enough for the 4th row of the grid. As he closes that lap, so that's an improvement in the 4th sector. What sort of exit can he get out of the final corner? The run up to start-finish line. Is it going to be improvement for him? Let's find out together. Good enough for 4th place. Up into the 2nd row, displacing his teammate, Patrick Colo, who drops a row. Another place as well, into 5th place. Just looking at it, I think that's over and done with for qualifying here, Seb. Hermer on pole.
Hermer on pole indeed. Rosenkrantz only 0.07 of a second behind Hermer, so he's gone a little bit quicker. Fay had quite an almighty accident with Josh Wilson there as they crossed the line. I think Roberto Fay just pulled off to the side. Wilson wasn't expecting it, and debris flew everywhere, although didn't impact anybody's lap. So we can actually have a look. Oh, so it was a bit of a spin from Wilson there. So I think that was just the end. And very interesting, Tim. We've had more crashes in qualifying than I think we've had in some races. So chaos out there, but great. I think we should mention great job from Sam Hermer. Another pole position. He's really coming into his own at this point at the championship. It's great to see. So what can he do today from pole position?
It's going to be an interesting one to see. And I know you've said about Sam Hermer previously, Seb, that the first half of the championship, definitely, if he didn't, use the classic, I don't think you've even labelled it as that, the classic Martin Brundle quote of, if he didn't have any luck, then if he didn't have bad luck, then he wouldn't have any luck whatsoever. But it really seems to be just clicking into place as we've now well into the second half of the season, and the results start to come home. Of course, that win last time out in absolute epic style at Mosport Park. Last time out, that as you said at the time, when we watched the replay back post-race, even though we knew he came out with a victory, we still weren't quite sure and couldn't quite believe it, bearing in mind where he was coming into the final corners.
No, just stunning driving from Sam Hermer. I keep on rewatching the broadcast because I just still cannot believe that he managed to make that stick. It's insane, really. And that's what we've grown accustomed to from Sam Hermer, thinking back to the chase at Bathurst going around the outside. Can't quite remember who he was overtaking, but it was a stunning overtake. And I think Sam Herman must be one of the best overtakers on the grid. He's really clean, he's consistent, and yeah, unfortunately, he's just had some really bad luck at the start of the season. Barcelona springs to mind there, losing his pole position, couldn't convert that into a win after the contact. So, I think he's obviously, his luck is clearly changed, and I just hope for him that it will continue to change, because he is such a quick driver, and I've watched him in other leagues as well, and he's obscenely quick. He is so quick, so consistent, and I rarely make him see a mistake on his own accord.
Laguna Seca, it's definitely a tricky track. Some corners appear a lot flatter to the eye than they actually are, to be fair. With the exception, of course, of, you see it on screen just then, the iconic turn screw at turn 8, the left-hand entry which comes over the slight brow of the hill, and the elevation then drops by 12%. So you head drop, well, it literally does. The track drops away from you as you turn left and then instantly right, and that's going to be a bit of an interesting one to see how the drivers handle that one. In terms of the cold tyres, opening lap, tight pack racing, and also I think potentially, see, Seb, you mentioned about the run up to turn 1 being a hotbed for action and overtakes during the race. Possibly even, the run up to this corkscrew. Do you think we could see some drivers making a move there?
I really think you could. It's such an interesting corner, the corkscrew, because the entrance is pretty vital, but it's not so vital that you can't race sort of into it. You can definitely outbrake somebody. You can use the camber to stick it down the inside. Of course, then you're on the outside for the next part. So it is a tricky place to overtake, but I think that it certainly is an overtaking spot. Maybe a little bit more so for the GT cars and not the single-seater cars we have here. But as we always say to him, if anybody could overtake in places that we don't expect, it would be these bunch of drivers, because they are amazing at overtaking, and they have surprised us at every event so far. So I would be surprised if we didn't see some overtaking into the corkscrew. Another thing I want to note about the corkscrew is that it's really difficult to spot. It's blind. You can't see half the corner. You go into the first part and you just have to sort of hope and know that you've positioned the car in the right spot, that you catch the camber in the right way to get the car in for the second corner, the right-hander part. It's so tricky, and it's even trickier if you're on a screen. And I'm not sure about who uses what equipment here, but of course you have your VR headsets, which some drivers might use, and I've noticed that if you have a VR headset, you have got so much more ability to drive in the corkscrew on the limit. At least I found is that you could just see it a lot more. I've always struggled driving the corkscrew on a screen, so is that going to take into a consideration today, as we see a few drivers really struggling out there at the moment?
Just seeing the drop there. I've mentioned about being a 12% drop. To put that into perspective, between the initial left turn in and then the instant right, that is a drop the equivalent of 59 feet, which is 5.5 stories in the space of only 450 feet of track. Now, when you get down to turn 9, which is the long left-hander, we'll just stay on board with Larson right now. We'll be able to see it. So this initial bit here, from this point to this point, is 5.5 stories. By the time you get down to turn 9, just here at the base of the hill, you will have dropped 109 feet. That's 10 stories. I struggle to think of any other track quite like it across the world, and that's definitely what makes it really iconic. But as we move across into the race section, it's going to be 22 laps here tonight. We'll be able to bring you up your grid very, very shortly as we get to go racing on Laguna Seca. It's going to be Herma on pole with Rosenkrantz alongside him. Gavin Petty on the second row with Roberto Fay. His teammate just behind him in 5th place, Patricolo and Isaacson in 6th. Van der Kokout, he's got Alistair Haight with him for company, and then Nuedo and Larson on the 5th row of the grid. Lee Aberdeen, he's with Josh Wilson on the 6th row. And then moving through the field, it is Skerritt and Olason, two RGL coasting drivers starting alongside each other. Then it's Cockram and Richard Van Veen in 15th and 16th. Glamsetter, he's got Biggerton with him, with Boberg and Steve Hughes up to 20th. Then it's Alan Roberts, Rogenberg, Chambers, and Els and Rowlands. As everyone revs up now As we get ready to go racing here in round 7 of the Jeans Bowl F3 League from a Laguna, Seca, and we are away. And Hermer getting a strong start there, maintaining his distance to Rosenkrantz, who tucks in just behind him there as they swoop down into turn 1. Gavin Petty on the inside line, they're just following his teammate through. So we watch in the midfield now, Glamsetter trying to make some progress over Van Veen and Cochrane right now. They're heading to the inside, just trying to get past the IGL Coatings driver there. As we all head through into turn 3, but up front it's a two-way battle. They come 2 by 2, like they're trying to get onto Noah's Ark, but Hermer just gets in front of Rosenkrantz. Petty just keeps ahead of Patricolo. Himself and his teammate Roberto Fay have swapped places there, and Hermer now starts to extend his lead as we head up the hill towards the corkscrew for the first time, hard onto the brakes. The crack dropping around the lock of the front left there from Hermer. So we descend down the hill now, everyone making it through, and Hermer already off to an absolute fly and a cracking start, but down in the midfield, Bergerson, he's got Cochrane just in front of him. There's everyone moving around, and behind him is one of the Chris Racing drivers, is Glamsetter, I believe, just running a little bit wide, but then tucking back inside once more. There's someone's off in the background there. Oh no, and Nick Allen off in the foreground. It's all happening here, Seb.
Certainly is. Let's just have a look at this replay. What's going to happen to Dick Allen? He's just locked the brakes by himself. So I think he's got up on the curve there and just lost the rear. So disaster for Nick Allen there. Great start though. I mean, we almost made it through the whole lap with no incidents whatsoever. Really clean driving there. Hermer and Rosenkrantz, great battle for the first half of the lap. Really interesting that Hermer sort of hung Rosenkrantz out to dry for a little bit there.
Something's happened to Olason. He's up, descending down the field like a stone being almost thrown off the edge of the corkscrew, to be fair. He's all the way bound right to the back of the field as we see Aberdeen on the attack there. Someone with a slow down there. That is I think that's at 32. That's Gavin Petty from 3rd place. Something has happened to him. I'm not even sure what's happened to him quite. Let's take a little look. He's got it out onto the gravel. Locks it. Half spin. What a save from Petty.
What a save indeed. I mean, cat-like reflexes to be able to lock the car down and save it, because that's so easy to end up in the wall there. So lucky for Gavin Petty. I mean, might not feel lucky at the moment being 9th after being 3rd, but it's really lucky from Petty, and he's still got a really good chance at some good points here, although he's under quite a lot of pressure at the moment from Laredo there.
That save was almost reminiscent of Max Verstappen in the rain into Lagos, where he had the car going sideways, then all of a sudden just flicked it back around, had it going straight again. So he came around the final corner and out to near the pit entry, but what a save from Petty, and the damage limitation from him only dropped down to 9th. You expect him to start to come back through the field, but we see Laredo right now, as you mentioned, part of this long train that pretty much starts all the way up at Patricolo. Wilson pretty much at the rear of it, just biding his time, watching what everyone is doing in front of him as we come up the hill towards the corkscrew, hard onto the brakes. It's a bit of a puff of smoke there. Someone locked a front left tyre. Everyone just covering each other off now. Right now, I was chatting to James Cochrane, one of the PDR drivers, earlier in the week, and he was saying it's a bit of a challenging circuit this for overtakes. You know, you've really got to be on your mark and everything absolutely perfect so that you don't end up losing a place, because it is so easily to do so. If you just come offline, if you just miss your braking mark, or even if you just brake that little bit too early. He's currently down in 13th as we see Laredo under attack from Petty down into turn 1. Page running around the outside. He's having another bite of the apple. Can he get the move done against the Spaniard? Did they even touch there? And here comes Wilson. He's going to nab the place from Petty, who's, well, it seems to be going from bad to worse almost as he tries to make progress through the field.
Disaster for him. He was actually being overtaken by Laredo, so it almost seems like he really shouldn't have fought that battle there, because he's just lost more time. Disaster for Petty now, out of the top 10. He's really struggling there. Is his tyres struggling? He's off the track again at turn 6. He is pushing that car. Has he got a little bit of damage maybe from that contact? Because that is seriously not the pace that we expect from Gavin Petty whatsoever. There's a spin!
That was Scarrett and Cochrane. They're coming together on the exit of the corkscrew. As the IGL's coatings driver from Scandinavia just gets the car going again. Where is Cochrane? He's got out ahead of him. Here comes Rogenbuck coming through. And we were only just saying about how, you know, one little mistake can cost you dearly, and well, it's just been illustrated that in the space of one lap between those three drivers there, Scarrett, Cochrane and Petty.
Certainly, this track, it really rewards clean driving and staying online there. And yeah, you're right. We've seen the victims of a few incidents, a few people just pushing that a little bit too hard, making moves that maybe aren't the best sort of, aren't the best places to make moves. So people sort of need to calm down a little bit. Still quite a few laps to go. Laredo, though, we have to mention, doing a great job ninth at the moment, Tim. Really good defence. Another people that are having a good race are Herman and Rosenkrantz, still 1 and 2 where they started, but they are just gapping Patricolo at the moment.
Yeah, nobody pulling away from anyone too dramatically in these early stages. Just coming around the final corner, turn 11, head across the start-finish straight, and Herman will commence what will be the 5th lap of the race here at round 7 at Laguna Seca. Coming down to turn, well, it's technically turn 2. Ooh, that's Nick Allen having more problems once more, getting it sideways and spinning. That is what, into turn 10, I think there, Seb.
It was indeed really not a good few opening laps of Nick Allen there. 2 incidents, and from what it looked like, again, just self-inflicted. I think got up on the grass and had a spin, and we actually see Gavin Petty getting past Josh Wilson. It did look to me like Wilson just let Gavin Petty pass, so I think he's sort of realising that Petty isn't in his race today, and he can use him to follow him through and maybe catch Laredo and Aberdeen. So Wilson certainly playing the long game at the moment. Will Gavin Petty be able to make it past Laredo again? Only time will tell.
I will indeed, as we should look at the 3rd place driver, Patricolo, right now trying to hunt down Rosenkrantz himself. To be fair, I mean, himself, Rosenkrantz, Hemmer and Faye, you can see just behind there, all trading incredibly similar lap times. The spread between all 3 of them, so 4 of them, is 3/10 of a second. I mean, even to the point of actually even a bit further back behind them, and that's Richard Van Veen going very slowly there. That was Hughes and Cochrane getting through. Let's take a look at what's happened to the Dutchman. I get the feeling we all might know what's coming. Is it going to be a bit of an over-rotation? Yes, it is. On the exit of the corkscrew, locks up, rolls the car backwards, luckily, to move out of everyone's way. Oh, hold on. I think there's another car across. It's Cochrane. He's come into contact somehow. So Cochrane making the move down the inside, gets the job done. Oh, contact for further contact there. I think was that Glam setter possibly in front of them?
I'm not sure. That's absolute carnage out there at the moment. So Cochrane made a move, and they sort of had that weird netcode incident, didn't they, on the exit of turn 11, the final corner. They sort of came together, and James Cochrane was sort of thrown in a really weird angle into the barriers. That's certainly an unusual one, but to me, it doesn't look like many people have too much damage. I mean, we saw debris flowing up. So this is Steve Hughes now. Let's have a watch. So into turn 11 there. Cochrane down the inside. Good move there. They sort of come together at the apex. He, for some reason, slams on his brakes and just goes into the back of him. And that's so that was Richard Van Veen in the back of him going into him. It's not been a great lap for Richard Van Veen, but you can't really blame him for that second contact, but that car looks certainly very damaged at the moment, Tim. It's not looking fun to drive.
The front left corner of that front wing is definitely bent out of shape and not helping him whatsoever. What is a high downforce track, and he's taking his pits, and that could well be retirement. Although, it's not too long to have the front lows changed on these Dallara F3 cars. So we just right on board right now with Niels van der Koekout. He is in 6th place right now as we head up the hill through turn 6 along the Rahal straight into this bit here is actually called turn 7. Oddly, it's not really a turn, more of a kink. And then we can see in that 5.5 story, and then down this section drops us down a full 10 stories. There's such a short space of track. Comes around to complete the lap. He's currently in 6th place. That's iRacing, who's for a good result, to be fair. Currently up in 5th place. He's up a place from where he first started. It's the RGL Coatings drivers. Just look a little bit further down the field. This intriguing battle. Aberdeen in front of this 3-car train, Laredo, and then there's Gavin Petty, who we know what pace he's got from qualifying. Laredo, who's had a cracking race himself, making some overtakes. This will be interesting to see how these 3 get on. Of course, Aberdeen is no slouch himself. Involved in the some of the great battles we saw last time out at Mosport. Looking like he's going to be in a cracking battle here with Laredo, who's absolutely all over the back of him right now. We look back from Aberdeen. He's the head through turn 6 very, very shortly. Who's going to get the best run up the hill? Oh, Laredo just runs it a bit wide. And now Petty's on the attack right now on the entrance into the corkscrew. Who's going to come out on top? Petty just yields there and allows Laredo to take the racing line. I think Petty just not wanting to be involved in any more incidents there, Seb, and that's hence why he just backs out of it, maybe where he would have gone for it previously.
I think so. Really smart driving there from Gavin Petty, I thought. Just backing out of a 50-50 move, you know, just feeling that it wasn't worth the risk, and tend to agree with him there. He's got a few laps left to try and make that overtake and make it stick, and I think, you know, ascend it at this point is just too dangerous. But Lee Aberdeen looks to be struggling a little bit out there, but he is certainly a very, very good defender. So I think that Laredo and Petty will have a very difficult time trying to get past Lee Aberdeen.
I think they will do indeed, and see Alistair Hay just in front of them. Oh, I think he's just, as I mentioned his name, he runs wide there. Oh no, was that Steve Hughes even, sorry. I think that was. Just running it. There is Alistair Hay. He's all, I thought I'd just put the cursor of the commentator onto him. He's on for another cracking result himself, currently in 7th place. And in a little bit of pocket of space by himself right now. Lock up from one of the cars in front of a very common theme coming into the corkscrews. We see Isaacson and Van der Kook out all over the back of him right now as they come past. That's Olason there. They were just, oh no, so be Larson. Apologies. One of the RGL Coatings drivers moving well out of the way to allow the field through. As we see Glamsetter trying to find his way past Chambers.
Indeed, it's interesting you mentioned the IGL Coatings drivers, because they've not had a good race. A few have actually retired, some right down the field. So it's Isaacson carrying the flag as we see him move down the inside by Laredo there, but he's had to yield. So that's going to give Petty a great run now through this little infield section. This battle is really heating up. I've just noticed on our timing screens that Nick Allen has gone back to the pit, so I think he's had another incident. So capping off a pretty dismal race there from Nick Allen.
Talking of incidents, Petty out onto the gravel there, nearly losing it. So he tries to keep up with these two in front of him and getting right into the mix. He saw down on turn 1. Laredo almost getting up the inside, just runs wide. This is Petty's time to strike. Laredo made this same mistake on the previous lap. And now Petty just can't quite get close enough. Oh no, here we go. Aberdeen just getting really squirrely on the exit there. Luckily, gathers it together once more. Laredo, it's now his time to be absolutely all over the back of Aberdeen. And now, here comes Petty. Can he follow up through? Aberdeen on the inside. No, he can't. Uses the extra space on the right to run out wide. It carries much momentum through the final corner as they head over the start-finish straight. On the run down to, I keep calling it turn 1, it is officially turn 2. And all the way down, almost closing right up onto the back of the gearbox of Aberdeen. I mean, I know this is a traditional phrase, Seb, if you can throw a blanket over them, but literally you can, these guys, as we just see. This is Duncan Roberts, out onto the gravel. Recovers it luckily there. Let's take a look. So this is into turn 6. They head up the rail straight towards the corkscrew. Gonna be making just about. Oh, and there we go. A spin. Rolls down the hill. Just gonna get. And that, I think that is him done. retired, unfortunately. As we head back and, well, Laredo is... Something has happened here. Aberdeen has managed to get well away while we're just looking at what happened to Roberts, and in the process, Petty has managed to squeeze his way through on the run up into the corkscrew.
Oh, move down the inside at turn 6. That's some brave stuff by Petty. We were just saying that maybe he's just sort of biding his time, but that was clearly his time, and he wanted that position. Although Luedo's actually got past him again, so they're side by side down to turn 2. Petty on the outside, he'll have to be very brave to try and get round the outside and just yields again. So this battle's really heating up, but all while they're battling, Lee Aberdeen's just driving down the road, and he's now got almost a 2-second gap between these drivers. So great news for Lee Aberdeen right now.
It is really playing into his hands right now, and you see where Petty pushing that car to the max, just clipping the gravel on the dirt on the outside. He's definitely going to be racking up the off tracks here. It's clearly tactically spending them in his efforts to try and find his way past Luedo. We've completed just over half the race distance. It's round about Herman just coming around onto his 13th lap. He leads the way from Rosenkrantz, who's 1.5 seconds behind you. You can just see him there, followed by Pachacolo, currently holding on to the last place on the podium here at Laguna, followed by Roberto Fay. Isaacson, he is 5th for IG Out Coatings. 6th is Nils van der Kokout, who's on a good run and is starting to close into the back of Isaacson. Axel Hay is 7th. Aberdeen, who we've just seen pulling away and up 3 places right now into 8th. Luedo still 9th, but locked in that battle with Petty for that last, well, over the last place inside the top 10. And unfortunately, just looking at it, Wilson in 11th right now, not quite being able to pull it together to catch up to the battling Luedo and Petty. Just see Bickerson there. He's currently in 12th. He's on for a good race. He's up 6 places. Boberg behind him likewise. He's up 6 places as well as the Crips Racing driver. But Chambers and Annels, we're just seeing right there, they are both up 10 places. Our highest rises so far. Glamsetter up a place just behind them. He's been in the same fair share of incidents though, which won't have helped him. They've got Chris Rowlands and Alex Rogenbuck, Eric Olason, and then Larson, who is a lap down, but that is the last of the drivers still. Oh no, apologies, no, we've still got a couple more running. Alex Scarrett has got going again. As you see him moving, he's come back out of the pits again, like his teammate Larson. And also, Roberts is into the pits. Van Veen, he's got back out and running again, although he is, well, he's just got himself past Roberts and lap himself from him. In the 22nd, then it's Roberts, Allen, Hughes and Cockram, all retirees so far. Still everything to play for. 15 laps of 22 completed. Who will come out on top? And it's definitely one for not making mistakes here, Seb, and that's what's costing people dearly and facilitating overtakes.
Certainly, I mean, you just see how costly the mistakes have been for Gavin Petty, 4th to, or 3rd even to 10th, so he's really struggling, and he's still not managed to get past Luedo, so it seems like he has a little bit more pace, but you need a lot of pace overlap to be able to make a move stick around here, so really interesting. Both drivers in this little bite, Luedo and Petty had their best lap times on the last lap time. Petty was 7/10 quicker than Lee Aberdeen, so Petty really finding some pace out there at the moment, but it still doesn't seem to be enough to be able to make the overtake stick on either Luedo or Aberdeen. So it's starting to fall away here from Petty. He needs to start making the moves. He needs to start gaining positions if he wants to have a good points paying position tonight. So let's see what Petty can do in the last few laps of this race. Ooh, and that's a spin.
That is from Glamser. The rear guessing away from him, and around he goes, and definitely not having the best of races is Glamsetter by his own standards. But they tell you what, Seth, for all the battling these two have been doing, they've really just caught up onto the back of Aberdeen, and what was around about, the 2-second advantage that Aberdeen had over the battling Luedo and Petty, that gap is now down to only 6 tenths. Just looking at the lap times here, I mean, they're all similar on the last time around, so it's actually come from the lap prior. Oh, Petty's gone! I think he just dropped a rear wheel onto the gravel, and that sent him spinning.
Disaster for Gavin Petty. Absolute disaster. You just couldn't make it up. When it rains, it pours for Petty. He's had a few mistakes, and it's so easy to do there, and the consequences are so dire. The only good news for Petty, and it's not much, is that he's only lost 2 positions after that spin, but you've just got to feel badly for him. Let's have a look now and see what's happened. He's just run too wide in the first part of the corkscrew, which has then sent him towards the inside curve on the second, caught the grass, and round she goes. These cars are so unloaded there that they've got so little grip. So this has really now freed Laredo up to have a go at Lee Aberdeen. So Lee Aberdeen's got to sort of re-engage his brain and re-engage his defensive manoeuvres if he wants to hang on to that 8th place.
Yes, indeed. As they just round turn 5 there and head up the hill. As I say head up the hill, it's pretty much currently keep heading more and more up the hill towards the corkscrew. But hold on, that was Ryan Nels losing his air filter and then loses it on the exit out of turn 2. That's a strange one, that, Seb. I've never seen that part of bodywork. Oh, that was not. Oh wow, Glamset, I think, just saw his life flash before his eyes there. He just fell off by itself. Is it? He's hit the cone.
What? So the cone has come off Glamsetter's car, hit Ryan's car in the perfect spot to take off the air intake. You could not make that up. That must be like a 1 in a million chance. I've never seen that before at all in these cars. And I don't know if that spin on the exit of turn 2 there was related, but that's super unlucky. That's a super unlucky chain of events there. It's I certainly want to add to the collection of moments that I didn't expect to see.
Yeah, well, I think we've seen so many of them in this championship, haven't we, really? You know, from, well, who could forget it? You know, some that we'll start off with the more simpler ones, say simpler, some of the great overtakes that we've seen, and races to the line right at the depths of races onto the very last lap, let alone last corners, and also who of course who get the disconnect from Faye. But here we go. Is this Laredo's chance? No, it's not. He's just had to tuck in once more behind Aberdeen as they round turn 10 on the run down to turn 11. Laredo definitely looking the far more racier of the two. What can the Spaniard do? Trying to get as close as possible on the run down to turn 2. Can he find a way past on the brakes? They come across the start-finish line, past the curse, round turn 1, that kink. Laredo on the outside, looking for the switch back on Aberdeen, but he's too far ahead to try and make use of it, but he's going to have a good go. But Aberdeen says, no, sunshine, you're not having any of that, and shuts the door firmly in Laredo's face.
Great driving from both of them there. Aberdeen just having that a little bit more pace, that more ability to brake just that little bit later into turn 1, and that is currently saving him from being overtaken from Laredo. I feel like Laredo is quicker, and I feel like, Lee Aberdeen, he needs to try and overtake and surprise Lee Aberdeen and overtake him in somewhere where maybe he's not quite expecting it. The corkscrew would be a good opportunity to actually see the side or sort of nose to tail there, but Lee Aberdeen was expecting that, but I think
well, there was almost contact there, Seb. Laredo was so close. It looked like he got his rear wing onto the rear wheel of Aberdeen, but I think they've just about managed to avoid one another. I mean, that literally must have been a cigarette paper's difference between the two. And you see just how much Laredo is literally on the gearbox of Aberdeen. He tucks back in to try and get the slipstreams. They come across the start-finish line. Aberdeen hunks that inside line to prevent Laredo, who's jinxing around, trying his desperate damn hardest to find a way past. But Aberdeen is making that Delara F3 as wide as the track right now to prevent the Spaniard from finding a way past.
Easy. It looks like he's driving a double-decker bus at the moment. I mean, Laredo cannot find a way past. He really needs to try and sort of force his way to the inside to turn 1, because I think if he can do that, the move is pretty much his. But Lee Aberdeen really not allowing to do that. Luedo was almost bullying Aberdeen to saying, I'm going to go down the inside. And Lee Aberdeen was saying, no, you're not, Sunshine. You got to go around the outside. And Luedo sort of, he pulled out so late that he didn't really have enough chance for the car to settle down and then to be able to make a move. So Luedo needs to just make that one move. And even if it is round the outside, it's got to be bold. But he can't sort of do the jinxing around on the straight because it's clearly not working. Lee Aberdeen is anticipating it, and he is able to not be distracted by that. So if he wants to make the overtake, he's got to do it somewhere a little bit less known. And certainly here he's set him up now. Lee Aberdeen, he's gone to the outside, Luedo, which is forced Aberdeen to go to the inside, which has given him a poor run onto the straight. So this is Luedo's best chance so far.
It is indeed. What can he do? He swings out to the outside line once more, tries to run around the outside, but still can't find a way past. There was a lockup from someone in front of them. This thing's one of the IGL, was it one of the IGL coatings guys just ahead? As Ido running it out wide as possible, trying to carry as much momentum, as much speed, and once again out onto the dirt. As he tries to find a way past Aberdeen, he knows the clock is ticking down. And he's running out of time fast, using every single off-track that is available to him in these final stages of the race. Aberdeen, who's that? Oh,
Larson.
That's Les Larson coming off track there. And that is, well, out of the way, they would have been hoping that would have just distracted him, as Isaacson is now under attack from Van der Kokout. He's just quietly himself been closing up onto the Scandinavian driver and getting the much better drive off the corner. And this is the last lap here. The white flag flies at Laguna, Seca in the Jeans Bowl F3 League. And Van der Kokout is going to slip it up the inside of Isaacson right now and get himself up into 5th place. But what is happening behind them between Aberdeen and Luedo? They're incredibly close. And has Luedo done it? He runs in too deep. He runs in too deep, and Aberdeen retakes the place. Oh, Luedo, after finally finding a way past, just a little bit too late on the brakes. And the lunge wasn't successful here, Seb.
So close. It was such a late lunge from Luedo. I thought he'd managed to get it there, but unfortunately not. They're side by side as they come through the infield complex of turn 5 up towards turn 6 now. I think Luedo's final chance is the corkscrew. Talking of the corkscrew, Tim, here we are, this battle with Isaacson, losing the place on the final lap. Disaster for Isaacson. He's still got 2 major overtaking opportunities to go. Can we see a change in position for 5th? And can we see a change in position or a change in driver for 8th place?
To find out. So Hammer's come across the line. They come through the final turn. It's all about just getting the best exit, and they're going to get it through as Luedo right out onto the gravel once more, just desperately. This last-ditch attempt to find a way past. These two are going to run to the line almost side by side, but no, Luedo, I think he knows it's over and done. He can't win this battle, and Aberdeen just about holds on as Luedo, in frustration surely, sticks it right into the wall there. But we've got Boberg just running a little bit slow there. That's Chambers. He's just sneaked past him at the right of the depths there. Chambers up 11 places, now into 13th. Boberg, he's going to have a fight back on the exit, but you see Chambers, the victory, well, it's almost like a victory weave there. And a great result from the Brit to come home in 13th.
That was a bit cheeky from Max Chambers there, going, I stole your spot and I'm going to celebrate it across the line, but all's fair there. Wonder what happened to Boberg, because he was really slow out of the final, out of the turn 9. So I wonder if he's had a little bit of a spin like we saw Nick Allen do earlier on in the race.
It's a bit of a no. I'm just having a look through our report log right now, Seb, and I can't see anything. It's a bit of a strange one that right there, but even so, wow. What an incredibly close finish once more in this league. And let's just take you through your Class 5 results here from Round 7, the Jeans Bowl F3 League from Laguna, Seca, Sam Hammer. Well, he's another victory for him. That's 2 on the bounce for the Brit for PDR, beating Rosenkrantz by 3 seconds, the German. It's a cracking result from him. Patricolo rounding out the podium for 3D Rap Squad Corsa, the Italian, 7 seconds behind the leader. Then it's Roberto Fay, his teammate, in 4th. Niels van der Kokout, he was 5th, with Isaacson in 6th. You saw that overtake right onto the last lap. As to Hay, good result for him, the Shizou driver in 7th. Lee Aberdeen holding on to that 8th place over Luedo in 9th. Josh Wilson comes home in 10th for PDR Sif after what's been a frustrating but quiet race for him. Gavin Petty in 11th in the end. Johan Bergerson, another PDR War on Paper driver, the Swede in 12th. And then we've got Max Chambers, we saw at the line, just sneaking past Boberg there. A great result for the Brit in 13th. Boberg, he's 14th. Then we've got Glamsetter, Rowlands and Anels, lots of drivers, taking you up to 17th place on the lead lap. Eric Olesen and Alex Rogenberg, they both finished a lap down. And then we've got 2 laps down with both Larson and Scarrett, the 2 IGL Coatings drivers in 20th and 21st. Richard Van Veen, 4 laps down after retiring the car in the first lot of retirees. We've then got Duncan Roberts, Nick Allen, Steve Hughes, and James Cockram, who we lost all the way back on lap 6. Wow, Sab. I think it's becoming the de facto norm, the resets to factory default settings that in this league, the last lap, it just goes mad and we have amazing finishes and incredibly close fights.
It certainly is, and as a commentator, I love watching it, and I'm sure the drivers love it as well. It's reminiscent of Lando Norris on the last lap, all those a few seasons ago, and he managed to make up positions. And it seems that some drivers in the field are really good at being able just to keep their concentration until the final lap and use up all of their concentration, all of their grip, all of the skills that they've learned throughout the race to get that extra position there. And Van der Kookhout was a key example getting past Isaacson there after, admittedly, Isaacson did make a mistake, but Van der Kookhout was there to take the position. He managed to hang on to it. So great driving up and down. And it's always a pleasure to commentate and watch these races. And I just, as soon as they finish, I just cannot wait for the next one to begin. And we've got just under a week to go until the next round.
We have indeed, and that's definitely going to be an interesting one as we head back to the UK, and we haven't been there since round 2 at Snetterton, and wow, what a race that was all that time ago. As we head to Donington Park, that's going to be an absolute cracker, and that's on the Grand Prix layout, so the extended version, that's definitely going to provide plenty of overtaking opportunities of that tight and twisty but fast and free-flowing national British track. And then it takes us into what are going to be our final 4 races of the season, with it rounding out with Nürburgring, Sebring, Virginia International Raceway, and then the season finale at Hungaroring. Now, don't forget, coming up on the channel here at Total Simsport, of course, in 2 nights' time, we've got coverage of the European Sprint Series Top Split. And they've seen some absolutely cracking action, so make sure you tune in for that one. But, well, Seb, I mean, what was your take home from today? What was your top favourite moment?
I don't think it was necessarily a moment because we didn't see much of him, but Sam Hermer, I think, drove a brilliant race. He dominated the race, and that's certainly something that we haven't seen Sam Hermer be able to do in the past few rounds. So I think my standout moment, my standout driver was Sam Hermer, but I think that the Gavin Petty, the Lueda, the Aberdeen battle, I think was my standout moment. Just sad to see Gavin Petty making that mistake and unable to take that fight to the checkered flag.
I know. I think for me it would have been the intriguing battle that's being played out, especially early on, the freeway battle between Aberdeen, Luedo and Petty, and then obviously just dropped up to be Aberdeen and Luedo, and a really tight tussle between those two. But from myself, Seb and Sean, we'll see you in a week's time as the Jeans Bowl F3 League heads to Donington Park in the UK.